Go. You're
All right.
on.
Welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to your weekly TFFL webcast. It is Wednesday, October 24th, 2018. We are looking back at Week 7, looking ahead to Week 8 TFFL action. We are past the midway point, not quite heading down the stretch, but we're getting there. As us outdoorsmen like to say, it's time to fish or cut bait, folks. You're either in now or you're out. We got a couple teams. Hank will get to the standings in a second that may be thinking about jumping back into this, but we're starting to see some clear leaders, some teams that are already in the race for the number 1 overall pick. Let's quickly get to our headlines. We've got Rob Iannuzzi on with us this week. The Boba Fett's unbeaten streak now at 19 games, 20 games? How many?
Games. 19 games.
Going for 20.
Going for 20 this week.
Amazing. And you said it's now been more than a full calendar year. Well done, Rob.
He ain't even losing the preseason.
Thank you.
Injuries this week to talk about. There's a bunch of them, a few with some significance. Marshawn Lynch looks like he's pretty much done for the year. And that's one where the Fats just traded for him. Albert Wilson, done for the year for the Hams. They just signed him as a free agent. Sony Michel also down for a little while. Bilal Powell, done for the season for the Senators. LaShawn McCoy, simply a concussion. I shouldn't say simply a concussion for the Sponge, but what's interesting there is that may complicate attempts to trade him. Melvin Gordon, a surprise injury for the Aliens. I don't think that's going to linger too long. Allen Robinson, same thing for the Mongols. Big news in Week 7, Sponge Fishermen get their first win of the season. I would say congratulations, but I'm not sure Chief really seemed to want it. But take it. Congratulations, Chief. All right, let me quickly get to panel intros, and we'll start hearing from you guys. Chief, our former commissioner, skipper of the now 1-6 Sponge Fishermen, welcome.
Thank you. I can confirm that was an unwelcome victory. But
you had made that clear.
I guess the silver lining is I won't be that first 0-13 team.
Terry, our current commissioner and managing director of the Mongols.
Mongols. Thank you.
Hank, our IT director. Czar and CEO of the K-Wheels.
Good evening. And Chief, you want to get 1. You got to get 1 to get off the 0 number. But then, yeah, now you don't care about winning.
I would take the 1 of the 2 after I've clinched the first pick. That'd be great.
Yeah. Right.
Don't choose they choose us.
Well, once you get the first pick, then, yeah, go ahead and win.
And here's how good our IT department here is. We called in about this broken printer, I think, 7 episodes ago. Tonight, the printer has been fixed.
The printer is here.
Outstanding.
I have a new printer at the house.
Great idea.
To be candid, it's a pain in the ass already. It's one of those wireless network, everything connects to it kind of shit things. And I don't know. Apparently I had it in like the one spot in my house that's weak Wi-Fi. So.
And our guest this week, fulfilling our promise from last week, Rob Iannuzzi of the unbeaten Boba Fett's and defending champ Boba Fett's. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so in another TFFL trivia twist this week, I'm not going to ask the question. Rob Iannuzzi has a great question. I don't know the answer to it. I'm going to be the guest this week. Go for it, Rob.
So, yeah, I was not prepared for this to actually be the trivia question, but here we go. Who is the last team in the TFFL to beat the Boba Fett's?
Presumably in the first 6 weeks of last year, but not sure exactly when. Probably.
And here, yeah, I'll give you. Well, this is a bonus question. I don't know if you want to add points to this, but since 2016, only 2 teams have ever beaten the Boba Fett's. Who are those 2 teams?
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
I've had a lot of chances.
Rob, can you repeat the second part of that?
Well, since the start of the 2017 season, only the Fats have only lost twice. So who are the two teams to beat them? One of those includes the last team.
The last one, right? Okay.
I got no idea on this.
I have no idea. So, but
I know the answer. I look at it a lot.
All right, good enough.
All right, let's turn back to Hank now. He can show off his new printer with our TFFL standings review as only he can do it. Again, things starting to take shape. What do you got?
All right, here we go. As we had discussed, the class act of the TFFL is with us this evening. 19 straight without a loss. The division leading, note the asterisks. These are division leaders. Boba Fett at 6-0-1. Moving down, we have folks that are feeling pretty good. They're at least sort of feeling pretty good. The Devils and Senators currently lead their divisions at 5-2, 4-2-1. The Hormel Hams currently have the #1 wild card spot with their place there, and the Aliens with their equal record are also right there. Win, and these teams have got they got some things to play for. They'll take it. Things should work themselves out. The Lizards are at 4-3. The division leading K-Wheels are at 3-4, and that would leave the AMPAC and the Mongols also at 3-4, but not currently in the playoff hunt. And then these guys are probably at a point now where it's time to look toward next year and getting the best college running back that you possibly can acquire here in the coming months. So the Beavers, Giant Killers, and Sponge Fishermen, yeah, happy changing of season in terms of this year to next. So that's where we stand, and we're early, but we division play is now not happening, so we're into the cross conference rivalries here, and we'll see kind of who keeps rising.
So we talked about this. You're 3-4. You're on a 3-game losing streak. You could be miserable, but you're still the division leader. I
got to correct you. I'm actually on a 4-game losing streak.
Right, yes.
3-0, and I am now 3-4. But yeah, with the Wheels, like it or not, just got to stay ahead of the AMPAC because one of us is going to make the playoffs because the Killers are into tank mode, and somebody's got to win our division. So I hope it's me.
Right. Well, you've lost 4 in a row, but Ralph's lost 3 in a row, right?
Yes, he has, and and we have the same record, but I beat him earlier this season by a point, in fact, with a whopping 52-51 score. But that right now is the difference between playoffs and not in our division.
So you're equally mediocre.
I would say we're equally bad right now.
Every team in your division is under 500.
Correct.
Yep.
Killers are 1-6. I'm 3-4. Ralph's 3-4. Yeah, it's a matter of winning some games. If you win games, things will sort themselves out.
I know there's still 6 weeks to go in the season, but if you look at the 3 teams that are 3-4, they're a game and a half out of the wild card right now. They've got to make up essentially 2 games in 6 weeks. The math is starting to tighten up. You lose this week and you find yourself 2.5 games back with 5. That gets really tight. So I think the pressure is starting beyond those teams and some good teams. Your team, the Amsterdam Packers, we know are on paper or on computer a very strong team. But yeah, they've lost 3 in a row as well. All right.
I think 2 weeks. I think within the next 2 weeks, we're going to really see kind of how this is going to shake out because these are big games coming up with teams playing each other that are both in playoff contention. And so I think within a couple of weeks, we're really going to see who's in it and who's not.
So this is what I want to know. And Stick, I think one of the things on your agenda was young quarterbacks, but I'll toss this in early to Phil because we're talking about the Wheels. Is at what point do the Wheels play Philip Rivers and not Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, it was. This week is not a decision because he's on a bye. Last week it was. At one point I had him in.
And I think you would have beat me 2 weeks ago had you played Rivers.
The 1 week that he went off, it was against you. If I would have had him in, he would have done it. I mean, you fall in love with your players, right? And I'm probably one of the most guilty of this. And I want Deshaun Watson to be a top 5 quarterback. I want him to be. Phillip Rivers, I think I know what he is. The Chargers are playing well. Had I started him this week, he'd have done, nothing. Or this past week against Tennessee. I want Watson to be my guy, so I'm kind of prone to start him. But I got to think about it as we get closer here. If I'm in it, I'm got to see if he can do better.
Phil, Rivers had 18 points this week versus Watson's 8.
8. Yeah. So I would have made me mad if that 10 would have made the difference in our game, but it wouldn't have.
I was just curious because I was looking at the quarterbacks, and I think Phillip Rivers is like the 5th highest scoring quarterback in the league this year.
He's having a really good year. The Chargers are playing well. They really are. Yeah, I mean, Rivers is definitely somebody that probably should be starting, and probably should be starting over Watson.
If you won't put him on the bench when he has to take a bus because of a collapsed lung, I think you're playing him. You're playing him. I'm
playing him. Yeah, I mean the collapse. That's a good story, man. That he didn't want the air pressure in the plane. Well, we'll see what happens here. This week is big. I mean, I feel like tomorrow night when they play against Miami, this is a big game. I hope that he's ready to light it up, and I think he's going to be. It's a primetime game. He's got the lights. This is where he should shine.
That's actually the first time I heard that story. I realized he had a collapsed lung. That's why he took the bus to the game.
He took the bus to the game so that he didn't.
I know why. I thought he was like questionable to play, so they were. I didn't realize there was an actual medical reason for him not to take the plane.
Right.
Story just gets better.
Hank, I have zero problem with you continuing to start Deshaun Watson. He's week to week as good a quarterback as any in the league. He hasn't been a few weeks here, but that's fine to keep him in your lineup.
He's won me games by himself before. I mean, he has the potential to score 40 points. I mean, I guess leaving Rivers with 18 on the bench for me is easier to take than leaving Watson on the bench when he scores 38.
All right, so hold your thoughts on quarterbacks for a second. We'll jump right into that topic on our agenda. But first, let me quickly turn to Terry, our commissioner. We'll keep reminding people about the trade deadline, which I think we're all about to get memorized. The day I probably already screwed this up.
The day before
Thanksgiving. Right.
Yes. So we're approximately a little over a month away from the trade deadline.
All right. What else do you got for us?
I have absolutely nothing. You guys are great owners. You get your lineups in. There's no controversy. Keep it up, fellas.
We've gone soft. We used to beat commissioners up.
Yes.
They were worse commissioners.
I remember those days.
Okay, well, then let's jump right back into quarterbacks. Let's get into our roundtable chat. The first topic on our agenda was actually suggested by Hank today. In the past, we have talked about the idea of, if we were starting over, who would be the number 1 overall pick, and we can probably have that conversation again sometime soon. It's been a few years, but Hank was specifically asking about quarterbacks. And the specific question is, if you had to pick one quarterback today to build your franchise around, who would it be? And I'll just preface it, since we've been talking about Deshaun Watson, by saying that I think if we asked this question right before the start of the 2018 season, Deshaun Watson might have been the answer for a lot of people. There's going to be a few names, I think, that'll get thrown out here. I would dare to lob Carson Wentz into this conversation. We'll probably hear Mahomes and Goff. Keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers, should still be around for 5 more years at least. A couple other veteran quarterbacks you might consider just because of where they are right now, and they can do it for a couple more years. And that's, the present is always much more valuable than 10 years from now. But if you were building a franchise, who's your quarterback?
And just to cap, we were talking about in our league, so just, not just in general, if you had a seasonal league or whatever, but in the TFFL, who would be the guy, and we just saw Breeze trade hands to Terry, and saw what that cost. Who would be the guy that you'd want as the rock of your franchise?
I think there's really only one acceptable answer right now, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I really can't make an argument. I mean, you can make an argument for Goff if you want, but I feel better about Mahomes being able to sustain this than Goff. Andrew Luck is playing lights out right now, and he's still young enough to be a 7 to 8 year keeper. But I think Mahomes is a clear answer here.
I think I agree with Stick. I think it's Wentz. I think Wentz. I mean, look at him coming back from his injury. He's ridiculously good. I mean, that team has some major problems. He's so good.
He's really good. I think he's in the discussion. And I mean, I don't know that it's a slam dunk for Mahomes. I mean, he is having a great year and he is doing crazy cool things with football. But I don't necessarily feel like he is something that NFL defenses can't figure out. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of quarterbacks have periods of time where they were unstoppable. Kurt Warner had the year where he was just, could not be any better.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and hey, and I'm not saying that Mahomes is really good. He is. He's good. But is he definitely better than Wentz or Goff, or even Breeze, if you want to throw him in the discussion right now?
What about Luck?
Sure, and Luck, absolutely. What about Deshaun Watson?
Nah, Deshaun Watson sucks.
Yeah.
When Hank asked me this, I feared the gut answer for everybody would be Mahomes, and I've tried to take a step back and ask the logical question: have we seen enough? Has he played enough to make you to justify that number 1 overall pick in a fantasy draft that we're talking about here? And I kind of think the answer is yes. But I think if you really press me on it, the other guy that would be at the top of my list would be Deshaun Watson, in part because of the weapons he's got there.
What about Cam Newton?
Not even close.
You don't think so?
He's great, but I don't think he's the top guy. I think he's not number 1 pick. I think you could justify a lot of the other guys. You could justify Luck or Wentz or Watson or Goff
or Rodgers.
Yeah, I
think the easy answers are the right ones in this case. I mean, there's a lot of good young quarterbacks: Luck, Watson, Goff. We named them, but I think 1 and 1A are Mahomes and Wentz. I think there's a pretty good gap between the rest of them. If I was picking, I would be happy with either one of those guys. But I think
maybe Rodgers is up there, but I agree.
Yeah.
Not quite as much love for Jared Goff in this conversation as I thought there would be.
Yeah.
Not yet. I don't think yet.
So you think that Mahomes has shown more than Goff has to this point? I mean, Goff's taken his team to the playoffs before, right?
Yeah, and Mahomes.
But from a fantasy standpoint,
yeah, okay,
right. Mahomes got a lot more weapons than most of these guys, right? I mean, he's got a ridiculous stable of weapons. I mean, not that Goff doesn't, but Goff has Gurley taking a lot of touchdowns from him. They're all good quarterbacks, right? It all depends on the teams and the guys that get surrounded with. So
as long as he's matched up there with Andy Reid, I don't want to put this Kaiser Canton already, but this has all the makings of a Belichick Brady 15-year, multi-Super Bowl partnership.
But it is also Andy Reid, so
they'll make a bad timeout, or some clock management might rob them of a few. But I think they're set for long-term success.
All right, so the next topic on our agenda, we're going to take advantage of Rob's presence here and talk to the Boba Fats, try to learn some secrets of their 19-game run. Rob, the very first question, though, you have to answer. I don't know if you saw me mention this last week. Why do you have 3 kickers on your roster?
Why not?
That's an unacceptable answer. Did this happen by accident? Is this a strategy?
It is definitely not a strategy. I think so. I had 2 kicker. I'm a big believer in keeping 2 kickers and 2 defenses. I know it's not like a popular draft strategy. I like to have that. And then usually my strategy is once my defense bye week passes, I let them go and I roll with, whatever defense. So anyways, 2 weeks ago I made a free agent move and I wanted to pick up a kicker. I like tweaking kickers, right? So what's his face? Fairbanks, whatever his name is. He's having a great year, and I wanted to pick him up. But I was like, all right, who am I going to drop? And I didn't want to drop one of my kickers because actually Jake Elliott and what's his face? Robbie Gould are actually having decent years too. So I was like, well, Marcus Mariota's doing absolutely nothing. He sucks. He's a waste of roster space. Why not just keep the kickers? I'm not going to, I'm not losing out on anything. I'll just get rid of Mariota. And then, I'll have a kicker to drop when I make my next move.
That is the most ridiculous explanation I've ever heard.
Not a huge amount of strategy, but that was my thinking. Like
you swapped out 3 quarterbacks for the 3rd kicker, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally unintentional, but I was like, I would rather have 3 kickers than Marcus Mariota on my roster. That's basically what it came down to.
Okay, I can't fault this, and let's remember before we land base Fats for the 3 kicker strategy that he's won 19 games in a row, or he hasn't lost in 19 games, so he's doing something right.
Right.
It's right. Chief, I know you have something to say on this matter.
No, it's bold and it's actually quite clever. I actually like it, because he's right. If when Mariota's your 3rd quarter, what? If you're in first place and you're gunning for a packed bowl, okay, what unfortunate series of events leads to you playing Mariota?
Right.
Both your other quarterbacks break their leg and not enough time to make a trade. Because if in the case of both injuries or an injury and a bye, he'll make a trade. He's not going to play Mariota and like lose a potential game that could decide playoff seeding or something like that. So Mariota wasn't doing something. Maybe, at some point, 2 kickers are kicking in the snow and one's in the dome. I mean, it's, what's really a problem this league, Stick, is the hoarding of mediocre quarterbacks.
Fair enough.
You know why I'm keeping 3 kickers? Because our rosters are big enough where you can have 3 kickers and it doesn't materially impact anything else going on, right?
And he'll pick up a draft pick for him at minimum. If he doesn't use it for that day pick, someone's got to trade a late round draft pick for him.
Yeah, sure.
As we said, 19 straight games. Who's to argue?
We're playing checkers. Rob's playing chess.
Right. All right. So earlier this year, Terry nicknamed the Fats the Frams, and we talked at length on the webcast about what might be a risk in having too many Rams, and I'm sure Rob has quite fairly mocked us many times since then. But I'm going to dare to bring it back up and let Rob respond a little bit, in part because there was a big article, you might have seen it on ESPN.com today, about the danger of having too many Rams on your roster, on your fantasy roster, not because of the danger we talked about where the Rams have a bad week and these guys just don't score enough points, but because as an undefeated team, they may bench Goff and Gurley and Kupp as early as week 15. And you might be sitting there, heading toward the Pac Bowl or in the Pac Bowl, suddenly not having 3 key cogs on your team. What do you think?
Sure. Well, all right. So let's think about this. I am not worried about that with Todd Gurley on my team, right? So, like, it's not like I'm not going to keep Todd Gurley because of it, right? So that's neither here nor there. Cooper Kupp, I mean, Kupp's a guy drafted in the 2nd round. I drafted him because I thought I needed a wide receiver. He was like the best guy there. And he wasn't even starting for me at the beginning of the season. I was starting Tate and Sanders and AJ Green. He was my fourth wide receiver. So it's not like I was going into this banking on like having all these Rams on my roster. So, and he's hurt now, right? So I think he played 2 weeks for me, right? He had that giant game. So yeah, I mean, when is he going to be playing again? I have no idea. So it may be a moot point with Cooper Kupp. And then Goff, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a risk, I guess. If, I make the Pac Bowl and the Rams are 15-0, like, is he going to, sit? Yeah, but, then I'll play Andy Dalton, I guess. And
we're not trying to criticize you. We're just trying to expose the weakness in the Death Star.
Yeah,
sure.
But here's the thing. If the Rams are sitting there at 14-0, they're looking at a first-round bye. They're not going to pull Goff and have him not play football for 3 weeks.
Right.
Heading into a playoff game. It's just not going to happen.
But I'm more concerned with Gurley. I mean,
right. Gurley, they may give half his normal workload to.
Right.
That's better than most running backs out there. But
you could say the same thing about some of these other teams,
exactly.
right? You could say the same thing about Kareem Hunt. You could say the same thing about Mahomes, right? Like,
yep. Hey, so Rob, you flagged something interesting for us. You've obviously been doing your research through the archives or through the site. Tell us about if you had played the same schedule as the Giant Killers or something like that, your record would be what?
Well, I don't know. Do you guys pay? You get the Tuesday emails from the commissioner robot. It always tells you like, here's your next opponent, and if you played them, you would be, if they played your schedule, they would be this, and if you played their schedule, they would be that. Yeah, it said yesterday, if I had played the Giant Killers schedule, who I'm playing this week, I'd be 3-4 this season. Wow. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Which begs the question, how strong do you think your team is, and how fortunate do you think your team has been throughout this 19 game?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of luck involved in it, right? Like, I've scored a lot of points this year, right? So if I scored the most points in the league by close to 100 points, I think, and be 3-4, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? I mean, that's bad luck. That would be bad luck right there.
You've outscored the next highest scoring team by 80 points.
Yeah, so close, right? 80 points.
Yeah.
So,
80 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's luck, right? That would be dumb luck, and I just thought it was interesting, right? It shows you how luck kind of plays into it. Scheduling luck.
So
very true.
So if you go back, let's say 3 to 5 years, the Lizards have been in the Pac Bowl. Whether they were in the Pac Bowl, I think, for 3 straight years prior to last year.
Were they?
They dominated our division for a while. The Aliens had a stretch of sustained success atop the division prior to that. The Boba Fetts have won their titles, but often in sort of these 1-year spurts. You're now on a good, strong 2-year run. Has something changed? Are you more hands-on these days as a father? More time to sit there and stare at the computer? A new strategy? What has changed?
No, nothing's changed. I don't know, man. Like, you know how it works. You get a bad team. You draft some studs, right, at the top of the first round. Sometimes guys work out, sometimes they don't. I think that was a topic of conversation a week or two ago. AJ Green has obviously worked out extremely well for me, right, over the years. Gurley obviously has worked out extremely well. And I think that sometimes all those, and then you got to be able to, Stafford was solid for me for a lot of years. And then you get guys like Emmanuel Sanders, right, who's been on my team for close to 5 years now. And he's not a stud. Like, is he top 10? No, but is he top 15? Yeah. And he's, so I don't know. I think that I've been able to hold on to some of these guys and draft well, and have just for just the last 2 years been able to sustain some point scoring, right? So hopefully it'll keep going, right? I mean, Tariq Cohen's looking pretty good. Is he a keeper? Probably. We'll see what happens with Jordan Howard, but I mean he's looked good. So yeah, Kelsey, right? I drafted him I think 3 years ago, and he was he wasn't a keeper 3 years ago. And who did I have? Oh, I had Julius Thomas for a bunch of years, right? And he was really good at the beginning of his career and kind of but then just drafting Kelsey, I can't remember who had him. I think the Hams maybe dropped him. I think he was a first round. I think I drafted him in the first round. Anyways, he's been great, right? Last 2 years, stud. Probably you could argue the best tight end, most consistent tight end in the league. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit of luck. I think it's no different approach. You just sometimes you hit on guys, right?
Well, with the exception of the Goff trade, which we've talked about a lot, very bold move and obviously I think a very good one. As you just described, you've been patient. You've stacked the pieces one at a time, held on to these guys, and they've all sort of added up into a great team now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Other questions, guys?
No, I'm just looking to follow the model. I mean, we think Green and Leo Jones when they've both been really good. And I don't have Todd Gurley, but I have Saquon Barkley, and hopefully he can become that guy. So look out, K-Wheels. But Fats, it's impressive that that you've rattled off 19, and I mean, well done. And yes, I think there's a lot of luck in this stupid game we play, but at the same point, you got to put up points, and your teams have been doing it. And nice work.
Yeah. How good is Saquon Barkley, by the way? Watch the Giants, and you're just like. He's literally he could play every position on the Giants, and play it better than anyone else on the Giants.
Him and Beckham are the whole team right now. I mean, Eli is a rubber band being held together. I mean, barely being held together.
He's a deer in headlights. It's amazing to see his downfall. It's crazy to watch.
He's off a cliff. It's
just some people here want to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Can't hear you. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings in his ear.
I will burn the fucking building down the day after he's enshrined.
Yeah, he's in. He's
definitely doesn't mean anything anymore. What it means is if you play quarterback and you last X amount of years, you're going in.
And your brother is Peyton and your last name is Manning. Yes, he is in.
And he's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
Yep.
We've had this debate.
Yeah. No need to do it again, but.
But he's bad, and Saquon's really good. It's amazing. Yeah. He's crazy. Anyways.
Just think of the impact on Odell Beckham's career. How negatively it's been impacted by Eli Manning. The 3-yard screen pass on 3rd and 12. Eli Manning. I mean, if he was on, imagine if he had the good fortune, Odell Beckham, to be drafted by, not even like the Patriots. Let's say it was like the Panthers. Or the Vikings, just the Broncos, just someone who's not a bad team, not a great one either. How much better he would look.
Seattle, which could
sure. Absolutely San Diego.
I'm glad to hear you say San Diego, not LA, because I can't help it. I've been calling San Diego all year.
I'm still calling the Rams St. Louis. So.
Yeah.
Rob, hey, let me just wrap up by saying thank you on behalf of the Webcast panel. I know you're a regular viewer.
Yeah, I am always a live viewer whenever possible. I think usually it's me, Thornburg, and Kramer manning the chat room.
They don't appear to be on tonight. We are flying without audience this evening.
No audience.
First time in a while because our audience is on the webcast. So
no drunk text from Kramer tonight.
Thornburg, yeah.
Yeah, where's Thornburg?
We need a laugh track. A live studio audience.
We miss you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Next chat topic is a TFFL strategy session question. I haven't really fleshed this out, so help me along here. But this topic has come up a few times, bit by bit, throughout our webcasts. Let's have a larger discussion about it. the question of getting rid of a player a year early or holding on to him and dumping him in a different way a year late and getting no value for him. Getting value in a trade versus releasing a player outright because you held on to him for too long. Some of the examples that have come up, the Aliens trading away Jordy Nelson to the Hormel Hams last year before his decline in Green Bay. Terry trading actually a couple guys, Des Bryant to the Aliens last year, Devontae Freeman to the Aliens at the start of this year. Both of those guys in different forms have faded away.
DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, the aliens are the poster child for the team you want to trade with your old guys. They'll take them.
And the big one that just happened is Marshawn Lynch. Boba Fett's taking him on, and Marshawn Lynch, unfortunately, has probably now played his last down in the NFL. Certainly, for the Boba Fett's this season. So I'm not quite sure what my question is here, but Terry, obviously you've perfected this, and I haven't. How much are you keeping this thought in the back of your head and actively trying to get ahead of the curve here? And how much do you really worry about giving up a guy? Devontae Freeman's only 26 years old. My thinking was he's got 3 more good years left, and maybe he still does, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to the Devonta Freeman trade. Yeah, he was 26. I didn't necessarily think that he was going to have injuries or be on injured reserve, but I thought, he had, I believe 2 years ago, a 14 touchdown season. He had another 11 touchdown season. I thought that I had probably gotten the best I was going to get out of Devonta Freeman. And felt it was the right time. And then I've been burned by holding on to players too long, Eddie Lacy being a prime example. So although it wasn't at the forefront of my mind, I would be lying if I said I didn't think about it a little bit. But I don't think it should form your strategy, but you can, you watch one of your players who's around long enough, you can see signs of, maybe that they're starting to wear down.
Yeah, there's only so much juice in a lemon, right?
Yeah.
So depending on how hard it gets squeezed, it runs out. Eddie Lacy is a kind of funny case because I was one of the guys who offered a first-round pick for him at one point, because that's not a case of a guy getting hurt or a guy, not being good enough. It's just a guy who couldn't stop eating.
Yeah.
Yep. Most times it's not that, right? The guy gets a little older. But I think the key part is, where are you as a franchise? If you're a Pac Bowl contender and you want to win one, and I would desperately like to win a Pac Bowl at some point in my existence, you can't get rid of guys just because they might have less value next year. Coming into the season and suspensions aside, even last season, I was old. I was trending old. I knew it. I mentioned it last year. But man, if I'm a Pac Bowl contender and I was a home field advantage points from going to the Pac Bowl last year, I'm not ditching LaShawn McCoy. I'm not ditching Mark Ingram because I expect him to get a little bit worse next year, because then you're never going to make the Pac Bowl. So again, now this year, sure, I would love to ditch every guy I have over 26. I'd happily do it. Not exactly, but you get the point. So, what's your expectations for your team? There's opportunities there to get rid of some guys, but if you're hurting yourself in the short term, why do it?
I tying both of those points together, because I think you guys are making really good points. I have zero issue with what the Fats did to get Marshawn Lynch, and it didn't work out, and that's unfortunate. But he's exactly the team the Chief is talking about. Is when you're going to make a real run at the title, adding a guy who may be nearing the end of his tread on the tire. It's a known risk to some extent. He's probably not somebody who's with your franchise for years to come, but it's a roll at it. I mean, I think guys like Mark Ingram maybe is an example of somebody who maybe Chiefs would think about the right offer, being able to pry him away from some aspiring team going forward. But I think that teams that are trending toward not being competitive are definitely should be of the mindset that, make me an offer, including for Le'Veon Bell, if you're listening, Thornburg.
I'm kicking myself over Marshawn Lynch because I resisted. I wish Birdo was on because I resisted him day and night.
Yep, we all did.
It was when Corey Clement was actually starting to play pretty well. Tariq Cohen was starting to play pretty well, and my argument was I don't need him. I don't need Marshawn Lynch. But then I was like, he's scoring touchdowns. I don't know. My guys are inconsistent. I don't really have a solid number 2 running back. Burkhead just went on IR. And I was like, second rounder, right? And for me, it'd probably be the end of the second round. Why not take a flyer, right?
Yep.
You're not investing that much, so.
That's why I have no problem with it.
Yeah. I haven't made one solicitation for trades yet this year. It's not my job to prostitute my players. People know my text. They know my email, know my phone. They know who I have. Man, but I tell you, Burrow's been beating the drum. I'm like, man, how desperate can you get? Yeah, he trades his guys. I'm sitting here in my same roster. So I guess I'm doing it wrong. Again, guys, I'm giving up on the season. You can make me offers. I've taken one offer this year, and it's not what I would call serious.
I'm done making trades, so you're not going to hear from me.
It's not what I would call serious. One offer I got.
Do you have any kickers available? I might be interested in one of your kickers.
I do. I'm just going to get rid of one this week in FAIR, but I'll certainly trade him.
4 kicker strategy.
I'll trade him for Mariota, sure.
Hey, Rob, I say this not to criticize, because again, there's no criticizing the Boba Fatts right now, but you brought up Rex Burkhead. Can you imagine how much better your franchise would be if you had kept James? I mean, you can't get any better, but you could have had James White over Rex Burkhead.
I know.
Take credit for that one.
I know. That was a crapshoot. That was.
Yeah.
It was just like I was thinking about keeping Robbie Anderson over Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, that would have been bad, right? Real bad. So, you win some, you lose some, right?
And in fairness, I think you'll recall I was forecasting that you would keep James White all off season.
Yep.
But I was also forecasting you would keep Robbie Anderson. So we
or Crabtree, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even. Has Crabtree even done anything this year? I don't even think I've paid attention.
I think he just scored in the last game, but he's been kind of off.
So yeah. I mean, tough.
All right, so I promise every webcast we'll hit a couple franchises in depth during our roundtable chat. We've obviously been talking a lot about the Boba Fatts. We're going to talk now about Terry and the Steel City Mongols, because I keep saying, I think I've said this 2 or 3 times, Terry, win your next game, and we're going to talk about the Mongols next week on the webcast in anticipation of that game getting you above 500, positioning you for a playoff run. The Drew Brees trade, very bold move, looked like it would make these kind of wins happen and get you where you wanted to be. But here we are. The Mongols are 3-4. You're 1-3 since acquiring Drew Brees. Those losses, you've got 43. I think these numbers are right. 43, 44, and 52 points in those losses. Yeah. And I look at your lineup, and I have to say, there's not enough firepower there at running back and receiver. But I guess the big question is can Brees still get you there? Are the Devils really that strong that you can't catch them? What kind of optimism do you have right now?
Well, to be honest, not a lot. Sometimes your team turns it around in the middle of the season, but my guys, Kenyon Drake has been a disappointment. Allen Robinson hasn't bounced back as well as I'd hoped. Garoppolo got hurt. I had to flip Sammy Watkins to try to get Drew Brees. So there's a not a lot of things that happened, kind of the way I needed them to break for me. So I was 2-1 when I made the Drew Brees trade, and I was the lowest scoring team in the league at that point as well. And so I kind of threw some numbers together. If I had the same lineup plus Drew Brees, for 3 weeks, would it have made a difference? And, I bumped up to maybe 8th scoring team in the league, but that's just my long-winded way of saying I'm very aware of the points we're putting up. And at this point, unless something drastically changes, I'm going to put my best lineup out there every week and try to win. But you're right. My running backs and receivers haven't been doing it. The guys I picked up in the draft, Keelan Cole and Robbie Anderson, have not been good at all. So, look out, Sponge. I might be falling on your head here in a few weeks.
The good news here, I mean, so you're 2 games back of the Devils.
2 games back. Yeah. Now let me paint a different picture. Now,
yeah,
doom and gloom. I do still have, I do have some hope that Drake can be better in the second half. It's just I don't know why Frank Gore is still getting more carries, but they've got Drake involved the last couple of weeks in the passing game. With some of their injuries, he's probably going to line up in the slot this week. So I think Drake can do more. When I'm trying to be positive, Allen Robinson is still just a little over a year removed from a terrible knee injury. So he's still rounding into shape. He could possibly do better. So there is some hope there. And Freeman, I didn't see Philip Lindsay coming at all, so I've been a little disappointed there. But when he has got the ball, he's looked good, and I think there's some potential there. But I do think the Devils are a little too strong. Looks like Connor's going to have a role all year, which we weren't sure of. So could I get there? Sure. But a lot of things are going to have to break right for me to do it. I'm not very confident that it will happen.
But again, more good news for you. You're 2-0 in your division. You've beat the Devils already. You still have the Devils on your schedule. You're not that far out. You're 2 games back, but it's not a very far 2 games. You can make that up in a hurry, I think. And Drew Brees can do that for you.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. I'm just averaging barely over 50 points a game, right? So, I mean, that's got to be at least 10 to 15 points a game higher in the second half of the season to make a move. That's a lot of points. But, yeah, let's go, guys. Let's make it happen. But I still think the Mongols are young. They've got a couple of players for the future. I have Geis next year. So, yeah, the rebuilding plan maybe has that started with the Des Bryant trade probably hasn't gone as well as I'd hoped this year, but I still think the future can be better than the present. So
we have a quarterback controversy on the Mongols in the offseason.
Great question.
Yeah.
We're going to keep 2.
Great question.
Yeah, I could possibly keep them both. And, if keeper lists were going in today, I would be keeping both. I don't necessarily know if that's a controversy, but yeah, I could do that. Freeman, Geis, Robinson, Landry, and then somebody else.
A player to be named later.
Yes.
Chief, Hank, any questions for Terry?
No, he's got the all-important tiebreaker over the Sponge if things go sideways on him. No, I don't see need to comment. He's got some talent on the team. He didn't have a whole lot of margin for error, which certainly isn't unique, to the Mongols.
Yeah.
He got errors.
He's in that same group of teams as we talked about earlier that I'm in, which is if you win, it's going to take care of things. But it's about winning now over these next 3 weeks. And, I don't think Terry's probably in position to nor wants to make any other trades. He's kind of played his cards So let's see what happens. But yeah, this game is crazy from week to week. All it takes is a couple of good ones in a row, and you're right back in.
Yeah. Starts with the Senators this week. So I'll go from there.
Big game. So we'll get to the full schedule in a moment. I confess I can't rattle off who everybody's playing. I'm curious to hear who the Fats have in their quest for 20. But let's get
Birdo.
to
I got Birdo. That's why I'm disappointed he's not here.
Don't spoil the schedule. All right, let's get the TFFL trivia answer out of the way. And Rob, you're going to be giving us the answer. I've scribbled down my answers here somewhere. What, are we getting 1 point for each of these?
Sure.
All right. These are the last two teams to have beaten the Boba Fats early in the 2017 season.
All right. Phil says the Lizards and the Hams. Both wrong. Devils and Beavers. Who's that? Chief? Both wrong. Senators and what's the other one?
Packers.
So, yeah, the last team to beat the Fats is the Amsterdam Packers.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Week 4 of 2017.
Wow.
So wait a second. Terry got 1 point.
I got a point.
So the second team to beat the Fats in week 3 of 2017 was the Aliens.
I was trying to think how the schedule worked that year, and I thought you were playing the SoCo East at that time.
Yeah.
That's sort of why I guess the Lizards also were good back then, because I knew early in the season you would have played your division opponents.
Yeah, and I beat the Lizards. I don't know who I played in the second game, but I was 2-0, and then lost to the Aliens and Packers to go 2-2, and then I won out the rest of the year straight through the Pac Bowl.
All right, so the only point in trivia is Terry. So,
No, I got a point for the guests.
The guest got a point?
Dick got Packers, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. The guest is on the board. All right, so that brings our season overall total, which I know everyone at home is anxiously awaiting. Chief is still leading by a mile. He's got 7 overall points. T-Row now is in second place by himself with 4 points. Berto and Hank are tied with 3 points. And congratulations to Stick for getting the guest on the board with 1 point.
Thank you very much. All right, Terry, TFFL schedule and game of the week for us to talk about.
All right, the week 8 slate.
Wait, 1 second. So, Stick, you got a point with the AMPAC.
Yep.
You didn't get the one for the Aliens, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm a little slow on the realization.
I did the logic correct. I figured it was probably somebody in our division. My short-term memory could not recall beating the Fats last year. So,
Well done. Nice job.
Figured the AMPAC probably. Yeah.
All right. The week 8 schedule.
I apologize, Terry. Go ahead and continue now.
No problem. As Rob mentioned, the Frams will take on the 1-6 Giant Killers this week as they go for their 20th in a row. The Lizards, 3-game winning streak against the K-Wheels on a 4-game losing streak. I wanted to mention this earlier, but the Lizards' last 3 games are 81, 88, and 98. They seem to be getting it together. The Senators at the Mongols. Then the Sponge take on the Beavers as they're jockeying for that number 1 pick.
Big implications there.
Big implications. The Aliens travel to the Amsterdam Packers. That's a big game. But the game of the week, 2 of the teams battling for the SoCo supremacy are the Hams against the Dirt Devils. Game of the week. 4-2-1 against 5-2.
That's a good game. That's a good game. That's inside SoCo title game there.
Yes. The Senators are in that mix, but those three teams are look to be the class of the SoCo.
And what's great about this game is there are not a lot of bye week implications for these two franchises this week. So they've got full lineups: Mahomes versus Cousins, full, good running back cores. Mahomes is at home against Denver. Yeah, I mean, if he blows up, but Cousins is at home against New Orleans, which could be a high scoring game. This will be a fun one.
Yeah, this is a 1 point spread, and you can see why. This is pretty damned even.
And we'll know the outcome. I mean, James White going on Monday night is the only late action here. Everything else is 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock action on Sunday. This will be a high scoring one early on Sunday. Anybody want to dare to make a call?
Sure.
I mean, it's almost a toss up.
I'll take the Devils with James White winning it on Monday night, or Monday night.
I think that the Cousins has got a good setup for a big game against the Saints on Sunday night. Just that, I think he'll play well. Yeah, I go with the Devils too.
I'm gonna make a call for the Devils as well, and the guy I'm gonna point to is James Conner. Steelers want to give him 4 touchdowns before Le'Veon Bell comes back.
Yeah, I like the reasoning there.
I'll make it a clean sweep. I'll pick the Devils as well, and I'll say it's because I think they have an edge at running back with White and Connor, and David Johnson with what's going on in Arizona, and Carson. I don't think match up there, so I give the edge to the Devils.
We all know that Michael is a regular webcast viewer. He will not like to hear this.
No, I don't like picking against my division, but this will be very, very, very close. I think Sony Michel's injury is gonna toss this to the Hams, or to the Devils, excuse me.
All right, so maybe we'll get Michael riled up and get him on the webcast next week.
Don't get that guy riled up. He's an animal.
Michael would love nothing more than to tell us we're all wrong.
He'll have his chance.
Rob, how much did you love your 3 Rams scoring like 80 points the week after we questioned the risk there?
Yeah, playing the sponge that week.
Yeah.
80-0 before any of my guys have stepped on the field.
Bulletin board material.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Not gonna lie to you.
Well, hey, thank you for joining us, Rob.
Thanks for having me again. It was fun.
Yeah, Giant Killers on tap. I don't want to jinx you, but obviously you're the favorite there to get that to 20 straight. We'll keep talking about you all season long as you keep winning, and you're doing a darn good job of defending your title. Well done.
Thank you. Let's see what happens. Who do the Rams? I don't even know who the Rams play this week.
Let's take a quick look here.
Real Rams.
They're against Green Bay at home in Los Angeles against Green Bay.
All right, so they'll score points. Cool.
Yeah.
That could be a lot of points right there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, as we've talked about, I think everything is a big game at this point. Whether you're fighting for a division title or wild card positioning, or in Chiefs' case, #1 overall pick. So good luck to everybody out there in Week 8. Real quick question, and I'll get a little jump on this. Happy Halloween to everybody next week. I suspect we're not going to be here on Wednesday next week. Those of you with kids, Tuesday night. Start thinking about doing it on Tuesday. And for the league out there watching, circle your calendars for Tuesday.
I probably won't be around, but if you get a guess, I probably won't be missed. Thursday can probably make. Tuesday.
Thursday, right? Yeah. We'll figure that out offline. Hey, real quick, fun topic to wrap up. We got three of the panelists with kids. What are the costumes this year? I know Phil's got a really good one.
The kids?
Yes, the kids.
My son is going as some sort of soldier for like the 14th consecutive year. My daughter makes a really, really I don't want to say sexy because she's 12, but a really, really good Harley Quinn. And, I'm going as I just came from a party last week dressed as Bob Ross with paints, easel afro, and the whole getup. So that's me.
Yes. And yeah, I know my daughter too is starting to approach that age where it's like, yeah, no, honey, we can't. I told her she could not be Harley Quinn. She's being an angel, but it's not the right angel costume. It'll be fine. But the proud moment is that on his own volition of no nudging from his father, Luke decided that he would be Kirk Cousins for Halloween. And so we got him a helmet and the jersey. He already had the jersey, but then we got the pants. So we got him set up.
Let me segue that. One time when I was probably about 10 or 11 years, well, I can tell you right now, I was 3, so I was probably 8 years old. I went as Ken Anderson for Halloween.
Chief, I actually went as Ken Anderson for Halloween.
Patriots were so bad, I couldn't get Patriots gear in this local Sears. Back then, the Sears catalog, they didn't have every item in every team. You like this item in these 4 teams, and this item in these 12, and this one in the 15. And I loved the Bengals uniforms. The first year, they went back to like the tiger stripes, and they were good then, right? So I used to love Anderson and Collinsworth and Dan Ross and Pete Johnson and Tim Crumright, but I actually went Halloween helmet, jersey, shoulder pads, Ken Anderson.
I also went as Ken Anderson one Halloween. I think I have pictures of myself.
That's going to be a trivia question like 8 years from now.
I'll forget by then for sure, but that's a perfectly acceptable costume. Ken Anderson. Absolutely. Did you have the stash or no?
I don't think I did. I still had the helmet until about 5 years ago. I did it to a Bengals friend of mine.
Okay, this is mandatory. I need both of you to ask your parents if they have a picture of you.
I do. I have one upstairs in my photo album right now.
Rob, if you've got one, we got to see both of them.
I'm pretty sure I have one. I'll see if I can dig it up.
What kind of costumes do you have?
My daughter's going as well, she's only 3, so I don't have to worry about like the Harley Quinn stuff yet, but she's just going as like Elsa, I think.
Yep. Nice.
Some sort of princess.
Enjoy those times, Fats. Yeah. Enjoy that, yeah.
Generic princess.
All right. Well, so we'll figure out our schedule for next week. But what is my
Oh, nice.
Sport magazine cover.
That Kenny Anderson?
No.
That's awesome.
I think I did go dressed as a Steeler one year. Probably more of a generic Steeler.
When I was 11, I went as a prostitute. That was my costume. I just threw all. I'm like, we were hookers. That's what we were. Like, what are you, hookers?
A group of hookers.
Who raised you?
And I wore a mini skirt that like touched my knees. Like, yeah, but that was
This is 11. This is the problem I'm starting to enter, and Chief knows too. He's a year ahead of me.
Wow.
Yep. All right, so happy Halloween, because we may or may not be back on the show until afterwards, so we'll figure that out. Good luck in week 8 to everybody. Good luck on Halloween. I'll take any extra Butterfingers anybody has.
Kit Kats?
I've already got some Kit Kats. I'll trade.
Where? You're hiding all our candy.
They're in the fridge. Where you
where's the Skittles?
Where you put the chocolate.
Where else does chocolate go?
All right. Good luck. Happy Halloween. We will see everybody next week. Take care.
There's a bonus for our listeners at home.